As we approach the end of the year, organizational leaders are looking at how best to adjust their business strategies for the upcoming year. And not to be overlooked in those discussions is how the changing landscape is and should influence their security investments. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group and CyberScoop, and we're here with Derek Manky, Chief Security Strategist and Vice President for Global Threat Intelligence at Fortinet's Fortiguard Labs, and here to talk about some of the threat landscape trends in 2023. Derek, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here again. Thanks, Wyatt.
So let's talk initially about what are some of the big picture trends that you see coming into view in 2023?
Yeah, so some things that we've been observing and what I actually see to really happen at scale next year, scale is a key word here, is the rise of advanced persistent cybercrime. So this convergence of the threat landscape, right? We know about cyber criminals, we know about nation state attack and more sophisticated attacks, but we have these two worlds or entities, if you will, combining together. And that includes more of a focus on reconnaissance and weaponization, more targeted attacks at scale. Not just targeted attacks at scale, but destructive ones. I think that's good. We talk about monetization a lot, but it's going to be more destruction in the playbook of attackers moving forward. At the same time, the expansion of the CAS, the crime as a service portfolio, is another trend, big picture trend. Attackers are always looking at how they can monetize their threats further. And finally, a growing attack surface that's becoming more complex and more virtualized as well, with the rise of things like metaverse and augmented reality, virtual reality moving forward.
Interesting. Well, let's talk a little about what does the convergence that you're seeing actually mean for cyber defenders?
Right. So I just talked about convergence for the attacker. From a defender, what that means is that because attacks are becoming more targeted, they know more about their intended victim. They're doing more blueprinting, reconnaissance on that target. What that means for defenders is they need to spend more time focusing on trying to look at how they can shore up early detection of these threats, knowing their enemy, looking at trying to defend against reconnaissance and more effective weaponization phases. If you look at the kill chain, right, attacks are always in motion more on that right side. So what it means for defenders is really planning to more pre-game, right, trying to have more preparations in place pre-attack before the attacks occur.
And I'm intrigued by this idea of cybercrime as a service. How is that potentially going to enable more destructive attacks at scale?
Right. So this is an ever evolving portfolio, the crime as a service offering. We've seen more elements added to it throughout the years, including botnets for hire, DDoS for hire, so distributed denial of service. And now what we're expecting to see is more expansion of that portfolio, because quite frankly, they've built the infrastructure. So we're looking at everything from reconnaissance as a service for the adversary, right? Being able to offer their tools and platforms they've created to be able to do reconnaissance on intended victims, because it makes those targeted attacks more efficient. The other thing we're expecting to see is the money laundering as a service as well, too, with the rise of cryptocurrency that's fueling a lot of the ill-gained profits for washing through cryptocurrency services. We're expecting to see money laundering as a service as part of that, which is really just a catalyst. It's going to fuel cybercrime further. And these are just two aspects, but it is a growing portfolio.
Well, I know there's plenty to focus on, but what are maybe three things that cyber defenders could and should consider in their security portfolios to protect against these attacks?
Yeah, so next generation SOC, looking at automation first, right? So if there is an attack in play in your network, what we're seeing with these more clever attacks now is that the attackers are moving quicker. Being able to respond to threats quicker through automation, through orchestration, things like SD-WAN and next generation SOC is imperative, because the longer you wait, the more damage is done. Quite frankly, the stakes are higher now. So that's one focus. being able to have early detection and prevention through the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence, especially in a next generation SOC, things like reconnaissance, digital risk prevention services, and looking at deception plays as well too, trying to solve that pre-game, focus more on that. There's a big solution piece to that can help with it as well. The third thing I would say, as always, is training and education on these threats, right? The more that these attacks shift to the left, the more that they are getting more clever on social engineering, again, going after human targets. So being shored up, with the latest and greatest skill sets in terms of how to look out for these attacks, how to report them, and how to stay safe is imperative as well too. Those three combined already is a pretty effective approach.
Well, Derek, Manky, thank you as always for sharing some of your insights, and in particular, some of the things to be looking out for as we head into 2023.
Great, thank you. As I said, it doesn't have to be complex. You can keep it simple, and some of those measures can go a long way. It's not all bad news out there.
Terrific.